girls thought it would be fun to really surprise her.
Injured. I'm going to pause to let you see the video as it played out.
That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's sad, take a look at what happened.
Moving to spare. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go. Up. Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here. Moving to the spare.
So here's what we know at this hour. What sounds like shots rang out. The former president grabbed his ear, and as he fell, was immediately surrounded by security behind the podium. And as you can see in these images, he was shortly rushed off the stage. This is an emerging situation. NBC's Dasha Burns is at that Trump rally north of Pittsburgh and joins us now. Dasha, what do we know?
Jose, we're still waiting to confirm a lot of the details here. A lot of question marks still up in the air. Here's what I can tell you from my vantage point, because I was standing right here as Trump first came onto the stage. He was just a few minutes into his speech at this rally. I was in front of a camera, and I was walking off of the press risers here down below to the ground level where all of the general attendants are, as we heard what sounded like gunshots ring out. My producer and I ran to take cover, as did several of the people that are in attendance here, most people ducking down, the press that were behind the risers, press that were at our media tables, ducking down under the tables as we weren't sure what was going on. Our crew who was up on the stage captured some of that video that you showed, the former president getting protected by his Secret Service. They covered him. He looked to have some blood on his face. It looked like his ear was bloody. A lot of chaos and confusion. No one was sure where the gunshots sounded like gunshots were coming from. The former president, as we know, is now inside the motorcade. He may at this point be off-site. The folks here are now evacuating. A lot of confusion, some anger, people yelling at the press here, not sure what to make of what has just happened. The former president was just standing on the stage. He was talking about immigration under President Biden when all of this erupted into chaos. Again, just moments into his appearance here in Butler, Pennsylvania. So far, we're safe. Our crew is safe. We have not seen anyone injured. We have not heard of anyone injured yet, but certainly unexpected, confusing, and we are still waiting to find out what exactly transpired here, Jose.
And Dasha, we want to go back to that video because, as you indeed state, it does seem as though what appears to sound like shots, a number of them did ring out, and the former president clutched his right ear. We saw him that after that he was taken towards that motorcade, and here, or just moments afterwards, you can see from what seems to be his ear, blood in his ear, and there's some blood on his cheeks, but he is conscious. He is with his fist raised in the air as there seems to be blood coming from his right ear. He was conscious the entire time, still is conscious in every single one of the frames of the video that we have here on NBC News as he is being taken into that SUV. There were also moments right after those apparent gunshots rang out where we were able to hear the officials. And let's just listen in together to this.
If you want to really see something that's sad, take a look at what happened.
I counted about 8 to 11 what seems to be gunshots, and you will be able to hear now as they're getting ready to transport the former president. And we see now some heavily armed special SWAT team members. But listen to what they say here.
Are we good? Shooter's down. Are we
Shooter
good?
is down, is what one said.
Let's move. Let's move.
This was just moments ago in Pennsylvania.
Come on.
And we'll see the former president stand up with the help of a few people.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold on in your head.
He says, let me get my shoes.
Move to the bus. Move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Watch out.
Donald Trump still speaking as he raises his fist. And there you can see in the middle part of your screens what seems to be blood coming out from his right ear, conscious, shaking and waving that fist, as about 5 people help him down the stairs and towards that SUV. And I could hear about 8 to 10 or 11 what seemed to be gunshots. Dasha.
Jose, as we stand here, there are a lot of people yelling at the press pen right now, a lot of anger from the people here. I'll tell you, just emotionally, there's been a roller coaster just over the last 10 minutes or so since this happened. It went from confusion, people not sure if what they were hearing was fireworks, but as those sounds continued, as you said, 8 to 11 or so consecutively, people realized this might be dangerous, this might be gunshots. People started to get down, to hide, to feel that fear, that adrenaline that, frankly, I felt as we were trying to make sense of the situation and make sure that our team here and our colleagues here were safe. Then, when you saw the former president in that video get up and raise his fist, we did hear cheers erupt from the crowd, people chanting USA, USA, and the former president was taken into the motorcade. People started to clear out, and now, as this place is empty, littered with water bottles, just looks like a scene of escape right now. Very chaotic exit for everyone. The few people that are remaining are very angry with the media. We are feeling a lot of rage from people right now as everyone is trying to process what just happened. Of course, it is not uncommon for the former president at his rallies to point out the media, to call them fake news, and to target the frustration of his supporters towards the press. And that is a little bit of what we are experiencing right now as people are trying to make sense of what happened, what was supposed to be and was just before these sounds rang out, just before this incident, a pretty jovial, celebratory mood. Music was playing. The former president had just started his speech, and then everything changed, Jose.
Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move.
I want to bring in Tom Winter, a special correspondent. Tom, what we can discern from these images that we have from just moments ago is that the former president was speaking, and then as what appear to be gunshots start ringing out, more than one, Tom, is when he seems to touch his right ear, and almost quickly right after that starts dropping, and then that's when the security joined him. But Tom, it looks as though from this image that there is blood just from his right ear, which may have also grazed his cheek.
Jose, I want to stress to everybody that it is preliminary. The information that I am sharing with our audience right now is very early in this investigation. Everything I say is subject to change as law enforcement gathers more information, as an investigation continues. I can say with some sense at this time, based upon law enforcement officials that have been briefed initially on the events at the ground, reporting along with my colleague Jonathan Dinks at 6:29 Eastern Time, that the president is not expected to, the president is expected to survive this incident. I think that's the most important thing for people to know. The former president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, current presumptive nominee in the Republican Party, is expected to survive this incident. That's the initial indication that we have from the ground. There is an initial indication that either a fragment of a piece of ammunition or ammunition may have struck the president. It's possible it could have been a bullet ricochet. We just don't know. It's very early in this investigation. We do not have any sort of sense of a suspect. We do not have any sort of a sense of it's just one person or two people. We don't know. We don't know the type of weapon that's used. We don't know the motivation, though it appears to be clear to be going after former President Trump. But again, the headline at this time, the initial indications is that Donald Trump is expected to survive this incident. We've got a lot more calls to make. We got a lot more information to gather. What I may have just said could change entirely in the next 5 minutes, the next 5 hours. We don't know. But that's the initial indication that we have, all subject to change.
Tom Wuncher, of course, stay on this, and thank you for being with us tonight on this rapidly developing news story. Former President Donald Trump appears to have been shot or hit by some either ammunition or fragments in a rally that he was holding in Pennsylvania just moments ago. I want to turn to the moderator of Meet the Press, Kristen Welker, who is with us as well tonight. Kristen, these images that we're showing show the president to be conscious, the former president to be conscious the entire time, shaking and waving his fist in the air, but there does seem to be blood emerging from his right ear, and possibly maybe some injury to the cheek.
Jose, that's right. The images are horrifying. The former president with his face bloodied. He's pumping his fists. He appears to be saying fight, fight, as he is ushered off stage by the Secret Service. The political world just starting to absorb what has unfolded in Pennsylvania with just days until the Republican National Convention gets underway. Let me read you some of the reactions so far. Our Kelly O'Donnell has reached out to the Secret Service saying they are still gathering information on this incident. So, of course, we will bring that to our viewers as soon as we get that. President Biden, for his part, was at church in Delaware. As he left, he was asked if he'd been briefed on this rally. He said no. He then got back into his motorcade. Undoubtedly, he will be briefed in the coming moments. J.D. Vance, of course, the senator from Ohio, who is a potential contender to be Trump's VP nominee, tweeting out, "Everyone join me in praying for our President Trump and everyone at that rally. I hope everyone is okay." Jose, we cannot overstate this. This will send shockwaves throughout the political world, throughout the country, as everyone absorbs what has happened. Again, the former president rushed off stage, pumping his fist, appearing to have been injured at this rally in Pennsylvania, Jose.
Kristen Welker, thank you so very much. Stay with us. I want to go back to Dasha Burns, who was at that rally. Dasha, if you would describe to us what set the stage for us, what was happening when the former president was apparently hit with something?
So those of us who are just joining, we were on the press risers. We were in front of the camera as the former president came onto the stage, started speaking. He was speaking, Jose, for maybe 3 to 5 minutes, perhaps even less. He was just starting to talk about the issue of immigration under President Biden. He put some slides up on the screens here. As he was starting to get into that issue, we were getting off the press risers here. I'll just tell you from my personal experience, because we were in the middle of all of this as this all transpired. We were getting off of the press riser, getting to the ground level where all of the attendees are on the grass here at this venue. We heard at first what I thought might have been fireworks. I even saw a little bit of smoke. Wasn't sure what was going on. My producer, Bianca, and I then realized this might be something more serious. We then got ourselves behind a barricade for safety, trying to make sure that our colleagues and our peers around us were safe. Everyone ducked down. As you see in that video, the former president ducked down. Secret Service came and protected him. People in the audience here, those who were attending, initial confusion, shock. Again, when you first hear those shots, you really do think this might be fireworks, just because this is not something that you are expecting when you're at an event like this. We get down on the ground. We hear those continued pop, 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 pops. They kept going. It felt like for a long time for those of us who were here on site. But as you said, listening to it back, it was about 8 to 11 or so of those popping sounds. As the scene started to quiet down, as we stopped hearing those sounds, the former president started to get up, his Secret Service escorting him off the stage. The crowd went from that initial shock, fear, to cheering for him as he stood up, and it was clear that he was not unconscious, but he did seem to be bloody. Then the crowd started to disperse. In fact, we're being told right now that they would like the media to exit the premises, so that's what we're going to do as soon as we finish this, Jose. Then we got back up immediately to try to tell you what we experienced, what was going on. Again, just a few minutes into his speech here. The crowd also quite angry at the press, and we are now being told by Secret Service that we need to leave, Jose. So I'm going to say goodbye to you for now, but we will keep you posted. I'll post it. I'll phone in later if we have more information, Jose.
Dasha, thank you very much. Do what is needed to do. Stay safe and do exactly what authorities are asking you to do. I want to, and if you're listening to us on radio, I want you to listen as well as watch what happened just short moments ago in Pennsylvania at former President Donald Trump's rally. We're going to start from this part and just go right through the whole incident.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Move to spare. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go. Up. Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here. Move to the spare. Spare, get ready. Spare, get ready. We ready? Down. Shooters down. Are we good? Shooters down. Are we good to move? Are we good to move? We're clear. Let's move. We're clear. Come on.
Let me get my shoes. Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we got to move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay, my shoes down.
Watch out.
Wait.
This time around, as we play back what happened just a short while ago in Donald Trump's Pennsylvania rally, I heard at least 13 shots, what appeared to be shots, and there was some difference in the intensity or strength of the shots, which could mean that there were a number of, again, shots fired initially, and then there was some responsive shots. We also heard members of security say the shooter is down. Peter Alexander is with us, our chief White House correspondent. Peter, what do we know as of right now? And I understand that President Biden has been informed of what happened.
Jose, that's right. We have been in touch with senior officials at the White House who tell NBC News that President Biden, who is spending this weekend at his property in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, has been informed, has been briefed by aides about the situation currently taking place, or that has just taken place at that rally for former President Trump in Pennsylvania. I spoke to another official there who conceded that they are trying to get as much information as they can right now. Clearly, there are a lot of events that are moving very quickly at this time. The president, only moments before this took place, was in church at Rehoboth, and when he exited the church, reporters asked him if he was aware of it or had been informed about it. At that time, he had not been. It's clear at this time he now has. This is clearly a very dramatic moment for this country. Both President Biden and many members of his staff have condemned political violence of all kinds. Nobody anticipated anything of this kind to take place. As someone who travels routinely with the president and formerly with former President Trump and with Mr. Trump as a candidate, the perimeter is usually very tightly protected from a great distance as well. As you saw, the U.S. Secret Service quickly swarming the former president before leading him off. You see the SWAT teams who quickly came into position. And I can tell you, having been at many of these Trump rallies, and here's a new picture from one of our colleagues there on the ground, the photojournalists who are in the front row, showing the blood on former president's face and clearly on his ear as well. There he is pumping his fist as he was effectively chanting "fight" to those members, his supporters who were there. The perimeter is usually quite wide here, and having traveled with President Biden recently when he was overseas in Europe, I was struck by how wide that perimeter was, with snipers in many areas keeping a very close eye, and I suspect many of our colleagues in law enforcement would communicate that for a former president and now the presumptive nominee on the Republican side, there would have been a very wide perimeter. So now that we are told by law enforcement that it's believed that Donald Trump will certainly survive this incident, immediately the questions turn to how this happened, who's responsible for it, and what needs to be done to help better secure any of these political figures over the course of the next several days and weeks, not the least of which begins with the Republican National Convention that's scheduled to start on Monday in Milwaukee. A giant perimeter has been built around the Milwaukee arena where they're going to be hosting that event. In Washington, a huge perimeter was built for the NATO summit that President Biden was participating in with world leaders as well. But as I'm speaking to you, I'm checking my phone and texting with colleagues, with staff at the White House for any additional information. Jose, as we gather that, we will, of course, share it with you.
Peter Alexander, thank you so very much. Of course, continue monitoring this for us. I want to bring in retired ATF Special Agent Jim Cavanaugh. He is with us tonight. Jim, and when we look at these images, there is so much that tells people like you so much about the trajectory, where it seems that these gunshots or whatever came from. The president was looking towards his right when at least two of what seemed to be gunshots rang out. And then he immediately kind of went towards his right ear as he was dropping. It seems later, Jim, that there may be up to two what appear to be lines, one right up above his mouth on his cheek going towards his ear, and then one on the lower part of his cheek. What does this tell you, Jim?
Yeah, well, you're exactly right, Jose. I mean, he certainly reacted to his right. I mean, appears to be he was struck in his right ear. That appears to be where all the blood is. We don't know if that blood on the cheek is a wound or just blood spatter. It's hard to tell. But he certainly reacted to his right. He felt the sting on his right, probably his right ear. There's bleachers behind him that are filled, with supporters. But he kind of looks to his right. Now, it doesn't mean that the shot was directly to his right, that came directly from his right. It's just he hit him on the...
Take a look at what happened.
There you see it, Jim.
Yeah.
Jim, stand by. I want to go to Kristen Welker, who has some very late-breaking news.
Jose, Secret Service spokesperson just posted on X saying an incident occurred the evening of July 13th at a Trump rally in Pennsylvania. The Secret Service has implemented protective measures and the former president is safe. This is now an active Secret Service investigation, and further information will be released when available. Again, that is from the Secret Service. Everyone just absorbing what has occurred and unfolded in Pennsylvania. We're also getting reaction from a number of the vice presidential potential picks of former President Trump. Again, just to reiterate, the Republican National Convention is just days away from getting underway, set to begin on Monday. Senator Rubio posting praying for President Trump and all those attending the rally in Pennsylvania today. Senator Vance, everyone join me in praying for our President Trump and everyone at that rally. I hope everyone is okay. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, please join Catherine and me in praying for President Trump, his family, and everyone attending the rally today. Carrie Lake, of course, Senate candidate, posting, please pray for President Trump. So reaction just beginning to pour in from the political world. Of course, as Peter just reported, President Biden has been briefed. This is the scenario that everyone, of course, feared and was trying to protect against. Certainly as we head toward the conventions this summer, security is in the spotlight. The questions, of course, now, how could this have happened at a rally for the presumptive Republican nominee? And the questions, of course, will go on from there. How to prevent this from ever happening again. But again, the political world just beginning to absorb what has transpired at this rally in Pennsylvania. Sources, of course, on both sides of the aisle reaching out to say how horrified, how shocked, how in disbelief they are at what has unfolded. Jose.
Indeed, Kristen Walker, please stay with us. I want to go back to our investigative correspondent, Tom Winter, with us on the phone. Tom, an update?
Jose, still gathering details at this hour. As you can imagine, things are very fluid, but the initial indications that we have from two senior U.S. law enforcement officials have been briefed on the matter is, first and foremost, former President Donald J. Trump is expected to survive whatever incident this is. So that's the first thing. As far as what this was, what type of incident it is, what might have happened, those are all details that law enforcement is trying to get a handle on. Was this a projectile? Was it a ricochet? Was it something that's not a gun? Could have been some other sort of device. Could have been anything else. We just don't know. It's just far too soon to say. And if anybody is in custody, who that person or persons might be and why they did this, all very much a question at this hour as I talk to you at 6:47 Eastern Time. So we're doing a lot of reporting. Law enforcement, U.S. Secret Service trying to get a handle on it. As you can imagine, federal law enforcement agencies, and I'm including my reporting with my colleague Jonathan Dienst on this, federal law enforcement agencies are all acutely aware of what's going on and are standing by to provide any sort of information or do any sort of investigative work, depending upon what they might find. Of course, there'll be questions about security. If this was, in fact, an intentional act, there'll be questions about the what and the why. But right now, I think folks are still trying to get a handle on the details, the most important of which, just so people understand the current condition of the former president, is that he is expected to survive.
Tom Winter, thank you very much. Stay with us. I want to go to Hallie Jackson, who has an update from the Trump campaign. Hallie?
Yeah, per a campaign spokesperson, I'm going to read you this statement in full as obtained by our colleague Garrett Hake. That President Trump thanks law enforcement and first responders for their quick action during this heinous act. The spokesperson goes on to say he is fine and being checked out at a local medical facility. That is it for now. We do expect more details to follow, but obviously significant now as we're looking at some of these images here, Jose, of the former president being escorted off stage, that he is, in the words of the campaign, he is fine. He is apparently not seriously injured based on what they are telling us, and is obviously being looked at now by doctors. It is an extraordinary moment, to say the least, here, that we are on the eve of the Republican National Convention, that for the presumptive Republican nominee, this has occurred, whatever this is, at a campaign rally just days before he is set to officially accept the nomination. We want to be super careful here because there's still a lot we don't know about motivation, but I will just echo what some of my colleagues have said here, having been to many of these kinds of rallies. There is a security perimeter in place for any time you go to an event with any current or former president. There are mags, there is security, there's a perimeter, and it is usually, obviously, always pretty intense. And so there are going to be a lot of questions here moving forward as to how this could have happened, as we're looking at these very dramatic visuals now from photographers who are lined up right there on stage in Butler, Pennsylvania. We have seen a lot of reaction coming in. I know that Kristen just went through some of it from people like Mike Pence, from others in the party, saying that they are praying for the former president. As you see there, the blood on his face as he's holding up his hand, that shot that we have been replaying here, Jose. But again, the word from the Trump campaign, he is fine, they say, and currently being checked out. We're going to update you the second we get anything more.
Hallie Jackson, thank you very much. I want to go back to Dasha Burns, who was at that Trump rally north of Pittsburgh and has new reporting. She joins us on the phone. She was asked to leave the area as it is considered a crime scene.
Yeah, Jose, that's right. Everyone has now been evacuated. That includes attendees, Trump staff, that includes the press as well. We have our crew has convened. We're all together. With our sources, what has transpired, I will tell you how it's worried about security of these things. Every single press rally that I have heard, I have been to many, the security perimeter is very intense. You are a member of the media or a member of the public or even a member who is an elected official.
Dasha,
you are screened.
I'm so sorry. I just can't. We're not able to make out exactly what you're saying. It is a very chaotic scene where you are. The communications are difficult. We're going to try to reestablish a better line of communication with Dasha Burns. I want to go back to Peter Alexander. Peter, any word from the White House?
Jose, no new information from the White House right now, but I do want to share some information we are receiving from the Democratic governor of the state of Pennsylvania, where this incident, this shooting, appears to have taken place only a short time ago. Governor Josh Shapiro writes, "Violence targeted at any political party or political leader is absolutely unacceptable." He says it has no place in Pennsylvania or the United States. He says he has been briefed on the situation by Pennsylvania State Police. He says he's been briefed on the situation, says that Pennsylvania State Police are on the scene in Butler County where this took place and are working with our federal and local partners. Again, those are the words of Governor Josh Shapiro, the Democratic governor of the state of Pennsylvania. So that's just the latest information we're getting from there. Again, we are reaching out to the staff at the White House right now. President Biden, as we noted earlier, is traveling. He is in Delaware right now. The reporters, the pool that travels with him, we are told by reporters they are being kept inside the vans that they normally travel in a safe distance away from his home. But that is the latest in terms of the information that we have, Jose.
Peter Alexander, thank you so very much as we continue our coverage. Lester Holt continues with our breaking news.
Jose, thank you very much as we continue to cover the events here. I want to go to Dasha Burns. Dasha was in the crowd covering this event. I think we've reestablished your signal. Dasha, do you hear us okay?
Yeah, Lester, I'm on a better line, I think. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
Lester, I will tell you what transpired is the former president was just starting his rally. He was only a few minutes into his speech. He was talking about immigration under President Biden. I and our team were up on the press risers as he first started speaking. We were just making our way off of those risers. We were heading to the ground level where all of the attendees were on the grass in the field at this venue when we heard what initially I thought might have been fireworks. The Trump rallies often involve pyrotechnics. Sometimes there is smoke for effect. So initially there was confusion, shock, surprise for myself being there personally, but also as I looked around to the crowd and everyone around us. My producer, Bianca, and I then realized that it might be something more serious as we heard those consecutive pop, pop, pops that you could hear on the video. We took cover behind some stage equipment. We looked around to make sure that our colleagues were in a safe position as we saw the entire audience, all of the attendees, get down on the ground. You can, of course, see in that video the former president also getting down, his Secret Service covering him. So from confusion to sudden fear. Then when the former president, you see him in that video rising up, he holds his hand up in the air. The audience started to cheer. There were some chants of USA, USA. Still a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion. Attendees started to evacuate. Eventually, the reason I'm on the phone with you, we were evacuated as well. So, Lester, at this point, I will tell you that venue is empty aside from law enforcement, Secret Service. Trump staff are gone, attendees are gone, the press is gone. My team and I are now in a safe location. The security at these events, one of the reasons, Lester, this was so confusing and surprising and shocking for us all. Of course, this is what everyone fears when it comes to the heated political environment that we are in. We don't know what exactly happened, what transpired, but people fear political violence. So this was scary for all of us who were there. But every rally that I have ever been to, Lester, because of that concern, is thoroughly protected. There are security mags, whether you're a member of the press, whether you're a member of the public, even elected officials are screened. Every item that you are carrying is looked at by a member of security. There is a pretty strict protocol about what you can and cannot bring in, which is why there was so much confusion when this started, because there are so many precautions taken to prevent any sort of violence, any sort of unsafe situation. And we are now safe with this moment into this rally, Jose.
Dasha, let me ask you, you and others, I think, have described multiple shots fired. First of all, do we know anyone in the crowd, anyone who was there? Has anyone been hit? And also, what do we know about the shooter?
We don't know, as far as from my vantage point, where exactly those shots came from. It's a really large venue, Lester, and it was hard to tell exactly where the shots were coming from. I thought I saw some smoke on the right-hand side of the stage, but again, the Trump rallies often have those sorts of special effects, so it wasn't clear if that had to do with those shots or not. I talked to, in that chaotic moment, asked the people around me, the people in the audience, the attendees that were near me, once we all sort of came up for air, if everyone was okay. I did not hear of anyone who was injured. People were certainly shaken up. The emotional landscape of those moments, those 10 to 15 minutes, Lester, was really tumultuous. Went from a very celebratory environment. There was music playing just before the former president came on stage. People were selling merchandise. Everyone was very hot, but very excited to hear him speak. It went from excitement to confusion. People weren't sure if this was part of the show or not. And then when people saw the former president get down, everyone got down. Sudden fear, shock, chaos, confusion. Then there were cheers. And then there was some anger, Jose. I will say that some members of the crowd started to turn on the press for a few minutes there, shouting at us, calling us fake news. Of course, that is somewhat a staple of Trump rallies. You might hear some helicopters overhead. It looks to be like a police helicopter flying over the scene right now. The former president will often point to the press then and call us fake news, and the folks who were in the crowd, again, confused and emotions running high, not clear what to make of what just happened. We didn't know if there was a shooter, who the shooter was, very frustrated as they were being escorted out of the venue. Again, we did not see anyone get injured. You saw the former president with some blood on his face, and at this point, he is safe. We are safe, and we are just looking to learn as many details as we can.
All right, Dasha Burns with that, first-person account of what occurred there in Pennsylvania. And again, we saw that close-up picture of the former president, his face bloodied, but able to flash a thumb or a grin toward the crowd. One thing I note in these earlier video is that they're acting almost as if the threat had been over, because they linger on the stage for quite a while with the former president still upright before he's actually moved down to the vehicle, the armored vehicle. I want to go to Hallie Jackson right now. Hallie, are we getting any reaction from the Secret Service? Are they filling in any of the details?
I don't know if it's details, but they are at least responding here, as they are clearly in a moment of intense scrutiny as well, and obviously a heightened state of awareness given what just happened. So we know that the Secret Service is officially saying that this incident occurred. They do not specify what the incident actually is, what specifically happened, although we've obviously been seeing it and watching it for ourselves. The Secret Service, they say, has implemented protective measures, and the former president is safe. This is now an active Secret Service investigation, and further information will be released when available. You heard Dasha talking about being moved, obviously, from the scene of this rally because of this investigation that is now happening. But I want to underscore a couple of things here as we take a beat to just remind people where we are now. That at this moment, former President Donald Trump, based on what we're hearing from Secret Service and from his campaign, is safe and is fine. Those are the words of Secret Service and his team. He is now being checked out, based on his campaign, at a local medical facility, presumably in the area of Butler, Pennsylvania, where this rally has been happening here. I can tell you we are also hearing from his son, Donald Trump Jr., who is posting a picture of his father in the seconds after this happened with his fist raised. It's an image, Lester, that we have showed a couple of times in our special coverage here, saying he'll never stop fighting to save America. We are also hearing from others in the broader political orbit, including, for example, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who says now is the time for every American who loves our country to step back from the division, renounce all violence, and unite in prayer for President Trump and his family. So that's the latest of where we are at this moment, with our team, of course, blanketing every source, every angle, trying to find out more information. The second that we get it, Lester, we will bring it to you.
Hallie Jackson, thank you. Here we are on the weekend before the Republican National Convention. If you were just joining us at the top of the hour, Lester Holt in New York. We are following the events in Pennsylvania, where former President Trump, appearing at a rally, suffered what appears to be a wound to his ear after pops were heard, multiple pops, according to witnesses, believed to be potentially gunshots. The former president, taken from the stage, surrounded by Secret Service, ultimately put into his armored vehicle and whisked away from the scene. You heard my colleague say that rally site is now a crime scene as the Secret Service now takes over in the investigation. There's certainly many details we've not been able to confirm or fill out at this point. We don't know the status of the shooter and or shooters. We don't know if other people were shot in this attack, but there you see the shot. I think that people will see a lot of the former president looking defiantly and triumphantly, even as he's led away with that bloodied face. We want to show you there is video of the incident. We're going to take a moment here and watch. Here it is.
That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Moving to spare. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go. Up. Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here. Moving to the spare. Spare, get ready. Spare, get ready. We ready? Are we good? Shooter's down. Are we good to move? We're clear. Let's move. We're clear. Come on. Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we got to move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay, my shoes down.
Watch out.
The former president, obviously dazed by what had transpired. You hear him say, "Let me get my shoes," as Secret Service surrounds him. Typically, Secret Service protectees are protected by layers of teams. You see the folks usually in the dark uniforms there with the assault weapons. It's part of a counter-assault team that typically is certainly on presidential security. I can't tell you for sure if we would see it in this case, a former president, but nonetheless, you see these teams begin to surround Mr. Trump. And then somebody says clear. We don't know if they're referring to the threat. If the threat was neutralized, that's obviously the next worry, is to make sure that there is no further threat to the protectee, in this case, former President Trump or anyone in the crowd. I want to bring in Jim Cavanaugh right now. He's a retired ATF special agent. Jim, please feel free to correct me, but what do we know about the layers of security and how they went into play here?
Yeah, I think your analysis is right, spot on here, Lester. They do have layered security. A lot of it is provided also by local law enforcement. You can see their SWAT teams are there assisting. And the former president has a permanent detail, of course, of Secret Service agents that protect him, a detail leader, a special agent in charge. They're all very close to him. You can see when he was hit, his face is actually turned to the right, and he grabs his right ear. Now, you can hear some small popping noises, and you can also see the crowd react to the noise. So, you know, I think I would probably rule out some sort of a slingshot. I think it is some sort of a weapon. Now, it could be a small caliber handgun that grazed his ear. That's a possibility there that's open. It also could be something like a simunition. And that's a round that we use in training, that police use in training. It will bust your skin. It will hurt you. It fires from a regular firearm. You know, sometimes people use similar type. There's various types, but sometimes they use them in paintball activities. So it could be a firearm, and that could be a small caliber weapon that just grazed him, because it looks like the shot came from the right, and he was actually facing the right. He had his head turned toward the right. So it doesn't appear the shot came from the bleachers above, which is a small group of supporters there, and it might have came more from his right, and there's multiple shots. So, you know, clearly, I mean, we'd look at this and say someone trying to shoot the former president in the head, misses mostly if he fired, you know, a few rounds, because you can hear some popping, but might have grazed him with one. Now, what kind of projectile it was, if it was, like I say, if it was an actual firearm, I'd be thinking it's a small caliber weapon. The reports are not real loud that I can tell, although we'll probably get better audio. It doesn't sound like any kind of a rifle or anything. And he's dazed by it, Lester, and you made that observation a minute ago. He is dazed by it. So when he's hit by the projectile, he sees his head's facing right. I think you should know. He's looking to the right, and there's the pops. You can hear two pops, and he grabs his ear. So it's a small caliber handgun if it's an actual firearm, or it could be a simunition that still breaks the skin, still causes an injury there.
And Jim, you and I have both been to events on this scale, and certainly I've been to presidential events on this scale, and you look around at the security challenge there. Everybody, of course, carries a smartphone right now, and, you know, they have to make a quick judgment. Is that a phone or is that a weapon? Right. A lot of movement, a lot of dynamic action going on at these sorts of events. I can't imagine it getting much more challenging from a security standpoint.
Yes, you're exactly right. You know, I served on many of these Secret Service details as an ATF agent over all my 33 years, and we were always called in on those details, especially the campaign years, to work close to the candidates, to, you know, some of the agents traveled extensively with them to supplement Secret Service. So other agents, and back then ATF was in Treasury with Secret Service, so we were always called upon to help them. But watch what happens once the former president is struck. They swarm him. They completely get around him, so another shot is hard to get him. That's what they're trying to do. When they yell clear, I would think they're yelling clear to the armored vehicle. They can go to the armored vehicle. That's what they want to do. And I would think that's the clear notice they're giving each other. Clear path to the armored vehicle. Because that's what they want to do, is get them in and get them away.
Again, this is the weekend for the Republican National Convention. It is also the weekend that we were expecting we might hear former President Trump's announcement of a running mate. I want to go to Kristen Welker right now. Kristen, we have been watching these members of the so-called short list of potential nominees. Are we hearing from any of them? And if so, what are they saying?
Lester, we're hearing from all of them, and I should preface this by saying this is one of those rare and extraordinary moments that brings people together across the political aisle. So let me read you some of what we are hearing from the potential VP nominees, and then also some of the other reaction that we are getting from the political world. Senator Marco Rubio putting out on X, praying for President Trump and all those attending the rally in Pennsylvania today. Senator Vance posting, "Everyone join me in praying for our President Trump and everyone at the rally. I hope everyone is okay." Doug Burgum writing, "Please join Catherine and me, his wife, in praying for President Trump, his family, and everyone attending the rally." Carrie Lake also tweeting out her words of support. And then Senator Bernie Sanders, independent senator, posting, "Political violence is absolutely unacceptable. I wish Donald Trump and everyone else who may have been hurt a speedy recovery." Pausing on that last moment and that last thought, Lester, there has obviously been, and this has occurred against the backdrop of growing concerns about the political rhetoric in this country, concerns certainly as we head into this summer season in which both parties will be holding their conventions, the Republican convention getting underway on Monday. And Lester, everyone watching closely.
All right, Kristen, thanks very much. I'll ask you to stand by because we want to go back to Dasha Burns. She is in front of a camera now and has witnesses to this attempted violence. Dasha.
Lester, so we made it out of the venue area. We have all evacuated. Again, press, attendees, everyone who was there is now out of the area. We are currently in the parking lot. Again, there were thousands of people at this rally, as there are at many rallies. There are a lot of cars in this parking lot, all looking to leave. As we were getting ready to speak with you, we just ran into Joe and Donna, a mother-son, who say that they were right there. They were in the area where this happened. Donna, let me start with you. First of all, are you okay?
Yes, I'm shook. I'm definitely shook up, but I'm okay. Yeah, and Trump was talking, watching him. I heard pop, pop, pop. I thought it was like a cap gun. And my son's like, "Gun, get down." And next thing you know, everybody around us was down. And then once we got down, we were up at the top of our bleacher. The men were yelling to all the snipers and all the cops to come over because he had shot a man and a woman in our bleacher. We heard the one is very fatal. We don't know that for sure, but they were down. They went out.
So Joe, what exactly did you see? Because from our vantage point, we couldn't see what was going on. We didn't see any individuals. All we could do was listen for those sounds, but what did you see?
Again,
Everyone
I was
needs to
watching the
rally
president,
together.
and you hear the gunshots go off.
They had
Remarks
shot
from Tom said that the shooter
Donald
actually climbed up the back of the bleacher.
Trump.
And
The shooter
after we
is
got
dead.
down, like my mom said, there was 2 people down. They were calling for
There are
ICE.
multiple
We did see
reports that the suspect who
2
fired the
people that were
shots at
shot,
the former President
and we
Trump
saw them get carried out.
is
Like, I don't know.
dead.
The one.
Just live updates, and we're here for it. We're here for it, you guys. We're here for it. Let's all pray and hope that everybody is okay.
Didn't look like they were okay. I hope the other one's okay, and just may God watch over them tonight.
And Don, you said 2 people.
The
Were these 2
gunman
people
is
fellow
dead.
attendees of the rally? And what kind of did you see them get shot directly, or did you just see the aftermath?
No, you just heard the noise. You heard the pop, 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 seeing the aftermath. And neither of them looked good. They were both down. Nobody was talking. Nobody was moving.
What was going through your mind as you were witnessing all of this?
Are they still here? And am I going to get shot? That's what's going through my mind. He's holding my hand, and we were going to get up and try to get out of here. And some gentleman there said, "No, you stay down." So we stayed down, and then we finally heard everybody evacuate, and he grabbed my hand, and we got out of there.
And Joe, what was your state of mind coming into this rally today? What were you expecting, and what are you feeling now as we all experienced a day that none of us thought would come?
Well, I was excited. I mean, this is our second rally, and
Let's
the
go.
first one, Trump is very energetic when it comes to these, and now I want to vote for him more than ever.
Very excited.
Why is that?
Just to send a message to these people. They can't stop us.
They can't stop us.
Don, how are you feeling? I mean, you're here with your son. Of course, you want to protect your baby, and you don't want them or yourself to be in any danger. What were those mama instincts in that moment, and how are you feeling right now?
Exactly. My mama instincts were when he grabbed my hand, I knew my son
go.
was scared to death because he was holding my hand.
Those
He
mama
held my hand
instincts
since he was
kicked
probably
in.
5 or 6 years old. And so he held on to my hand, and you can imagine, my heart went into a million pieces. All I kept thinking was we got to be safe and get out of here. And I agree with Joe. Vote for Trump because this country got to get back in line. This is out of control.
How did you get out ultimately? How did you get here to safety?
That once they evacuated us, because right where we were sitting, we were able to just keep on going. We actually watched snipers and everybody over on the side for a few minutes, but we just got out of there. We were scared.
What did you see from your vantage point of the snipers? These were the people protecting the former president.
That's correct. And now they were over in the lawn. They just were watching every single person with their guns going by. I believe the one injured person was over there that they had. Wasn't he on the one on the ground?
Yeah, so before
This
they
is something
evacuated, they carried the
really
2 injured people out.
interesting
Then
right
they
here.
yelled for us to get evacuated. At that point, all
What's
the
going
Secret
on?
Service were up in our section with the guns, and they were all in the field. Because like I said, rumor was he climbed up the back of our bleacher. So
This is
Joe, Donna,
very,
thank you
very
both so much.
interesting,
I'm so
guys.
glad you are safe.
We are
I
seeing
know this was
something
not the day that you were
spectacular.
expecting, and thank you so
Something
much for
different.
sharing your story with us. Don't go too far. I might have some
Something
follow-up questions for you.
strange.
So, Lester,
As we
there you have it.
approach
Another
a
firsthand
new
account.
day.
They were right there. This was not the experience anyone was expecting. Still trying to grapple with
Someone
what just
asked
happened here,
Trump.
Lester.
Dasha Burns, thank you for that interview. Very
needs to get
revealing.
his
We should
shoes.
point out it's
He probably lost them
unconfirmed
when he-
what those witness accounts were of other people who might have been wounded.
down.
We're tracking all that down, and as soon as we have more on that, we'll certainly bring it to you.
love
I want
that
to
he
bring in
thought
our
about the
investigative
people, too.
correspondent,
Let's
Tom
go,
Winter.
Jackie.
He joins us on the phone with some new reporting on
blessed.
the events tonight. Tom?
And never
Lester,
stressed.
incorporating the work of myself and my colleague Jonathan Dean, 2 senior U.S. law enforcement officials tell NBC News that there is a growing concern that this was a serious, or may have been a serious attempt on the life of former President Donald Trump.
It was.
Based
I
on
seen
the
it.
facts of the investigation as they're developing them, again to repeat, 2 senior law enforcement officials tell NBC News that there is a growing concern that this may have been a serious attempt on the life of former President Trump. Lester, I can tell you, as you can well imagine, there is a lot of conflicting information right now as this investigation gets sorted out, what occurred on the ground, who heard what from where, and obviously we're proceeding with extreme caution.
Donald Trump
as to what
rushed
we're hearing
off the stage
and who
after shots
may or may not have been
fired.
involved. But there is definitely a concern that this may have been a serious
At
attempt
6:16
on former President
Eastern,
Trump's life.
5:16.
And why that might be important, some people might say that that would be obvious. You know, different things can happen at these events.
4:16.
You don't know the sequence of events and how it happens. So the fact that there may have been serious intent here, and by somebody that might have been capable of doing this,
2024.
is why we believe this is newsworthy. So that's the latest that we
What's
have
today's
right
date?
now.
What's today's
It's
date?
preliminary
July
information from the
13th,
scene, from people that have been briefed on what
2024.
the investigation holds. And so we're going to continue to do our reporting and
Saturday
obviously get
the
right back on with
13th.
you as we get more information.
Yeah, Tom, stay with me very quickly. I just want to point out we saw some shots of police tape now being put around
Shout
the
out to
area,
the
stands
557th
where
view.
former President Trump was apparently shot there earlier. That is now a crime scene. So what you're seeing
Drop it
is,
in the
in
chat.
fact, a
Drop
crime
it in the
scene.
chat
The,
if you
Secret
with Trump.
Service likely to lead that
Do you
investigation.
think this
but Tom, we've
makes
all talked about
Trump
it. We've seen examples of it,
war
political
veteran?
violence. This is something that law enforcement has been
Just hear me
bracing
out,
itself
you know?
for in this campaign season, is it not?
He didn't
Without
cut
a doubt,
shrapnel
Lester, I've
for the
lost track of the
country.
amount of times you and I have
In the
talked about
head,
it privately in
in the
offices.
ear.
We've reported on it. The FBI
Just
director,
a little
in an
bit
interview with
to the
you
left.
directly, said that he was concerned about
He was
this
outta here.
type of thing, Lester.
He
and
needs
so
to get the-
I think everybody's been concerned
Should
about
he get the Medal of
potential,
Honor?
issues, the potential
What's it
things
called?
that could
Purple
come up
Star?
during the course of this election, given how divided the country is, given the level of threat.
I
And
think
so that's
so.
something that people are acutely focused on, for sure.
All right, Tom, thanks very much. I'll
We
let
need
you
to
get
work
back
on
to
that.
your reporting and working out more details as this story develops here tonight. Let's bring in Evie Pomporis, a former Secret Service agent, joining me on the telephone right now. Can you give us a sense from what you have seen? Give us your professional
Trump is being
eye
checked out
of
at a
what
local
appears to transpire.
medical facility.
Yes,
Trump
so
is
what we're
fine
seeing is
after the shooting
him
after
attending
rally.
the rally, speaking at the rally, and then we hear the shots. That it almost sounds like these soft popping sounds. So we hear these multiple shots. We see him put his hand to his ear, and then you see these agents come in. Those agents that come in are the shift. It's his detail team. For them
The
to come in
prosecutor
like
say
that means this is a
gunmen
serious
and
threat.
one
Something serious
attending are
happened.
dead.
We're also seeing the tactical team, and we're looking at the live shot.
So it might have been some friendly fire.
A tactical team. That's the element that comes in. When you see the
Two
tactical
people are
team,
dead.
their job is to look for the threat. So you have two entities here.
So
The
one
agent
gunman
in
is
suit
dead
with
and
the
at least
tip.
one
Tip
rally
comes in,
attendant was
immediately
killed.
comes on top of the president, and they are there to surround him and to make sure that the shots hit them. The tactical element that we see come in after, their job is to move out, and we see
Man,
them
I seen this
facing
in a
out
movie.
toward the crowd,
I think
and
on
they
The
are to look
Simpsons.
for the threat. Clearly, we see the agents that get around him. They shield him, and then they move in this unison to shield him body-wise so that nothing strikes him. They move him slowly down the stairs and make their way to the armored vehicles. That's what we're looking at.
But
Now,
what are you
Lester, if we're
saying?
looking
Fight,
at how
fight,
this happened, again, this is all
fight,
alleged, nothing's been confirmed. But if we're looking at what's going on here, what
fight.
went, and it's soon to say, but
Oh,
how does such a
fight,
thing happen?
fight.
When you have rallies like this, ideally, you're supposed to have magnetometers. So that's going to be the first thing they're going to look at. Were there magnetometers, right? How did this weapon get in? Sometimes when it's a former president, you may not have all the elements that a sitting president would have, right? All the tactical capabilities. So it's going to be, how did that weapon get in? Were there magnetometers? Were people checked for weapons? And then from that point, where was that person positioned, right? How were they able to get in and get that angle of a shot?
Well, as we look at these pictures again, as you described, the former president being rushed into that vehicle to be taken away from the scene, I keep thinking about what's happening in the crowd. Unfortunately, the cameras aren't pointing on the crowd, but given the number of pops or potential shots we heard, it seems a lot of people were at risk. You've covered these events, no doubt, as have I. A lot of people wanting to get close to their candidate. That's part of what happens in a campaign. How does the Secret Service draw the balance there as to create, a fortress of security at the same time, allowing people to do what people should be doing at rallies like this?
So let's go to your first point where there's people there. When you do these events, and I've done these events, it's called a site advance. When you secure an event like this, you're the site agent. So you have two goals, two missions. I am to protect the President of the United States, right? However, the other goal or mission is the people at this event. So yes, they're targeting, or let's say assuming, right, that again, we don't have confirmation. But when someone is targeting the President, right, if they're going to shoot, yes, he's an issue, but also the people in the area are an issue, right? Where are all these rounds going? So when we hear these sounds, these small, these echoes of what appear to be shots, it wasn't one shot. There were multiple shots, and every round, Lester, has to go somewhere. It lands somewhere. Where are they going? So you've got all these people. So you are responsible not just for the safety of the U.S. president, but you are responsible for the people there. The president, think of him as he's a target, right? Wherever he moves, danger goes with him just because of what he attracts as a sitting U.S. president or a former president or a candidate. So when you put them in a place like this, you also have to think strategically, what about all the people there? Now, you'll see the barricades that are set up.
Duh.
You see the
Come on,
stakes
man.
set
We
up.
hear what you're saying.
What you may not see in that
Now
shot
you're just
is you
making
will
it
have
up as you
ingress
go.
and egress elements.
Come
That
on, man. Y'all
means
could do better.
you want multiple ways
Y'all could do better.
in
Y'all could do better.
and multiple ways
Y'all could do
out.
better than that.
So
Y'all
you
could do
want
better than
movement for the president. You also want to create an alternate movement.
See what Big Guy talking about.
And I know you're in shock and still processing all of this. It's sort of hard to evaluate our own emotions in this.
Oh, why aren't they texting me back? Are they mad at me? Do they not like me anymore? I'm scared to ask for reassurance.
Something that said, take a look at what happened.
Man, they was busting.
Hold, when you're ready, on you. Ready? Move! Up, move! Go! Up. Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here, move it to the stair. Stair, get ready. Stair, get ready. We ready? Are we good? Shooters down. Are we good to move? We're clear. Let's move. We're clear. Come on.
Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we gotta move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Watch out.
USA, 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 USA. July 13th, 2024. Wow. They fired up.
Honestly, it was so unbelievable.
They fired up.
But all of a sudden,
now they are fired up out there. You hear me? And that's what you call a rally. And they bust shots at Trump. They don't want him to win. They can't stop him legally, like Jackie said.
Home studio? Pro studio? No studio? No problem. With tens of thousands.
Apparent security incident at a Donald Trump campaign rally in Pennsylvania. Here's the moment the president ducked for cover as the Secret Service rushed the stage, and a warning: some viewers might find this video disturbing.
Take a look at what happened.
You can hear loud noises ring out in the background, followed by screams from the crowd. Members of the Secret Service walked Trump to a nearby vehicle and drove him away. Meanwhile, those in attendance slowly left the rally. Trump's campaign is telling the Associated Press in a statement that he was, quote, fine after being whisked off the stage. They went on to say that the presumptive Republican nominee is getting checked out at a local hospital. And CBC's senior correspondent Paul Hunter is following this story for us from Washington. Paul, such dramatic moments that happened not even an hour ago. What do we know at this hour?
Not a lot more than what you just said, Deanna.
But we know that the gunman is dead now, and we know that one of the attendees is dead. And this is a tragic, tragic, tragic event. You know? So I'm saying, this whole leg. Somebody just spun on Trump. Like, yeah. I think that we do not want you to finish this rally.
This was a major campaign event that Donald Trump was hosting before
the
Republican National Convention was set to take place in
Fair
Milwaukee
use, fair
this
use.
week. All eyes were on this rally as there was word that a potential running mate pick would be made within the next 48 hours or so. And many people were watching this to see if the former president would hint as to who he was going to pick. And instead, several minutes into the rally, multiple reports of shots fired, what witnesses described as popping sounds. And then you saw the former president right there ducking down, diving behind the podium. And then Secret Service rushing towards the former president, jumping on him and forming sort of a human shield as other law enforcement officers jump on the stage. You see them there with the long guns and the tactical gear looking into the crowd. And then these remarkable images coming in. The former president with what appears to be blood dripping from his right ear being escorted off the stage. There was also a moment there with the former president pumping his fist as the crowd started cheering when they saw that he was okay. The president then escorted into his motorcade, taken off to a nearby medical facility. Reports from the Trump campaign and the Trump family telling us that the former president is doing fine, that he's okay, that he's receiving medical treatment, but never giving us any specifics as to whether or not he was injured in any way beyond what we can see in this video. The DA in Butler County there, Pennsylvania, telling ABC News that the shooter is dead. Also telling us that at least one bystander was killed and perhaps another. Witnesses that we've heard from tonight talking about blood in the stands behind the former president and people being carried away. It's unclear exactly what happened. We're still waiting on multiple sources from law enforcement to tell us, whether the threat is over. That's unclear. But again, the source information that we're getting right now is that law enforcement is treating this as a potential assassination attempt against the former president until they get information that it wasn't. Let's go back to Rachel Scott, who's our senior congressional correspondent, also has been covering the campaign for us. Rachel was inside the arena during this event and while we were on the air for World News, and it was minutes later when she heard those shots ring out. Rachel, you've now been escorted outside. You've been with us the entire evening. What are sources telling you now?
Yeah, this is the scene that's happening right now. We are escorted outside of the Trump rally. We are still not far from where those shots rang out inside. I just want to show you right here. There's been so much conversation about the security. These white tents right here. This is where Trump supporters were screened by Secret Service.
Okay.
This is typical at a Trump rally, standard with events with the former president. You go through magnetometers, you go through metal detectors, your bags are then searched. There are certain items like large bags that are prohibited from being entered into this facility, and then you are screened when you go inside of these rallies. Off into the distance there, this is the area that is now an active crime scene. We were inside the moment that this happened. We were on air with you live for World News Tonight. Then the former president took the stage. Within several minutes of the former president being on the stage, we heard these popping noises, one right after another, after another, after another, and then there were those screams. We heard screams from the crowd, people yelling, people shouting shouting to get down, people shouting gunfire, gunfire, cover. We, along with other Trump supporters, then ducked for cover. We took off going below the riser. We covered ourselves, covered our heads. We watched as Trump supporters tilted out of their chairs, covered themselves as well, shielded themselves. We talked to a number of Trump supporters, one telling me all she could do was just close her eyes and pray. She just said she was praying and praying, hoping that everything would be okay. Those screams went on what felt like for several minutes.
Yeah, this is really
only a
wild.
matter of seconds, but it really encapsulates just sort of the frantic terror.
Never in my
People
lifetime.
were feeling in that moment, confused about what was going on. Initially, we did hear shots of gunfire and get down, but we did not know for sure. Then within just a few moments after that, we saw that image, and we were there live. We witnessed it along with the former president's supporters who were in the crowd. The former president who was protected and shielded by Secret Service agents, who was knocked to the ground. They protected him. He then rose up. We saw him put his fist up in the air. The crowd then cheered, many people telling me they were relieved to see that the former president was okay. He was then escorted into his own vehicle, and he was taken away immediately. Meanwhile, our eyes then went over to the bleachers. As you know, during these Trump rallies, the former president loves a crowd. He has his supporters all around him. He wants these to feel as intimate as possible, even though there are hundreds and hundreds of people there. So off over to the bleachers, what we then noticed were Secret Service agents and law enforcement officials. They were swarming what appeared to be one or possibly two individuals. And that is when all of us just sort of remained in that area. Law enforcement officials were telling everyone to still stay down,
He tried
to
to
make sure they
take
could get
out
the
Trump.
situation under control. After several more moments, we did see law
Wow.
enforcement officials and Secret Service agents then take one individual away. I did notice that there was blood on the bleachers on that side, on that area. And then that was the moment where people started to clear out of that area. We saw law enforcement officials come out with crime tape. They started taping off the area. We continue to be live with you on the air. We're
No
covering
way.
what we saw and what we were learning in the moment. And then we saw Trump supporters start to file out one by one. Those crowds are very packed. And so many times you're not able to get cell phone reception.
They was not taking that assassin alive. They made sure if you do something to Trump, you're done.
Their families, letting them know that they were okay. A place afterwards where people were checking on each other, trying to make sure that
Why they didn't take him alive so they can question him and see who sent them?
one person who was
Like the
inside of this
movies.
rally, sir, you were inside.
Take him
Where were you
alive.
seated, and what did
Take
you
him
hear?
alive.
Seated right in the front there, a little bit to the left, about 6-7 rows back, and we were just standing up listening to Trump talk there, and we just heard like a bullet, and you just seen him like swipe his ear there, you know, and then next thing you know, you heard other bullets, and he fell. Then there was like probably like 3 or more shots, you know, and then you just seen the crowd like just look over at the bleachers there, you know, and then it just got crazy there. I mean, it was so scary, you know, and I feel for all the innocent bystanders that, because there was some people that got hurt, innocent bystanders there. And we're just praying for them, make sure they're all right and that, you know, and pray for Trump.
What was your initial reaction when you heard those popping sounds? We were inside as well. It was one right after another.
It sounded like someone set fire, you know, like firecrackers off, you know, like boom, 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 you know. And then, you know, you realize something's going on here, you know, and then everybody just like hit the deck, and it was pretty scary, you know. And there must have been a shooter on the outside of the perimeter, you know, and he must have been shooting inside and hit some innocent bystanders. Because there was a big crane there with speakers, and there was a line there, and the bullet got hit. You know, the line got hit, and you could see all the fluid go out of the hydraulic line.
Well, we know there's so many unconfirmed reports. We know law enforcement is still working. This is an active investigation right now. How are you feeling? Standing here right now, this has been a very chaotic 24 hours.
This is wild. A bullet hit the hydraulic line.
We definitely need more police. You know,
Okay. We're going to put this together.
And hopefully we'll get that with Trump coming in here. You know, so everyone should get out there and vote for him. You know?
Yeah.
And your reaction when you saw the former president after he was shielded by Secret Service agents? We did see him pop up. He raised his fist. I heard the crowd cheering for him.
Yeah, he was looking for his shoes. He's like, where's my shoes?
Yeah, I want my shoe.
But hopefully he'll be all right, though. I think
I want my
he'll-
shoe, man. I ain't getting up out of here without my shoe.
Be ready for November.
Well, thank you so
I
much
gotta
for
be
your time.
ready.
You know, Whit, I've been to almost every single campaign rally this election cycle, and this is typically an area right before the campaign rally starts. There are lines with Trump supporters, hundreds of people lining up, waiting to get checked in. Secret Service screening them one by one as they enter in. There's always a sense of sort of joy and excitement from the former president.
Yeah, this is a wild, wild day. Chilling in the bag.
This has turned into an area where people
So
are just
we
confused.
gonna go
There's
ahead,
a state of sort of panic.
take
What do we
this
do
like
now?
this
There's
and
still some
protect
people
it,
hanging out here waiting to leave the
and
area.
never
Just
neglect
on this
it.
other end here, there's some cars that are still sort of leaving,
As we
trying to get out of this area. You could
cruise
see there the
through,
line of cars, people trying to exit this area. That gives you some perspective
to
of just how many people actually
manipulate
showed up
the
to this
sound,
rally. The parking lots are very full, and so you had people
making
not only hanging around but still trying to leave this area now that it's been secured off and now that we've been escorted out with.
And Rachel, I know you've been to so many of these Trump rallies in the past. In fact, I even remember the two of us going to the same one at the same time in New Hampshire back in
Same
2020. And you've seen the security, you're familiar with these procedures. And I think the one thing that we've heard from some of the witnesses there, it does not matter your political affiliation here. This is a sad day in this country as we still wait to get more information, especially some of those bystanders, at least one reportedly who lost their life. Rachel Scott for us, thank you so much. We do have a statement from President Biden here, and he writes that I have been briefed on the shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania. I'm grateful to hear that he's safe and doing well, praying for him and his family and for all of those at the rally as we await further information. Jill and I are grateful to the Secret Service for getting him to safety. There's no place for this kind of violence in America. We must unite as one nation to condemn it, a sentiment that we've been hearing from a number of officials on all sides of the aisle on this day and these remarkable events that have played out. Let's go back to Pierre Thomas, our Chief Justice correspondent in Washington, who's been talking to his sources. Pierre, one thing that we have learned in recent moments is that they are treating this as a possible assassination attempt until they learn otherwise.
It's a possible
This is an all hands on deck
assassination.
moment, period. Law enforcement officials said this will be treated as an assassination plot
Period.
until it's not. The source also
That's
gave
what
an
this would
update
be,
saying that President
and that's
Trump,
what this
former President Trump,
is.
was still at a medical
Concerning.
facility as a few moments ago, receiving treatment, but that he was
Concerning.
doing fine.
Very
Again, we emphasize no
concerning.
life-threatening injury to the president. But again, as of a few minutes ago, the president was still at a medical facility receiving treatment. The FBI is also now going to engage in this investigation. Every effort will be put on identifying, understanding who the shooter was, this attempted shooter was, finding out more about that person's background to make sure that this is confined to a single individual.
Right.
We just don't know yet.
From wrong.
Law enforcement, again, converging now, trying to get additional information so that security can be surged for the upcoming conventions. Also, we are getting information that law enforcement will be briefed later in the evening about what took place here. But again, you have a former president of the United States who is the leading candidate, soon to be nominated by his party as their candidate. Someone attempting to apparently kill him. That is the feeling. Until they can prove that is not the case, that is how law enforcement is operating in this moment.
Pierre Thomas for us, thank you so much. I do want to note we are awaiting word from President Biden. There is a podium that has been set up there that is Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. That's where President Biden was spending the weekend. We're told that we're about 2 minutes out from the president speaking tonight. Of course, he sent out that statement earlier, and we know that the president has been briefed by his staff and by the Secret Service. We're also learning that there's heightened alert across the country. We're getting reportable information from our sources here in New York City saying that following this possible assassination attempt, security is being increased across New York City. They say out of an abundance of caution, the NYPD is increasing its presence across the city, including at Trump Tower, 40 Wall Street, Foley Square, and City Hall. No specific threat, though, in connection to New York at this time. Here comes President Biden. Let's listen.
All the agencies in the federal government as the situation.
Biden for the speech.
I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. Apparently he's doing well. I plan on talking to them shortly, I hope, when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick.
None.
It's sick.
It's sick.
One of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow
Unite.
for this to be happening.
Unite.
We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. And so, and I want to thank the Secret Service and all the agencies, including the state agencies, that have been engaged in making sure that the people who, we have more detail to come relative to other people maybe injured in the audience. I don't have all that detail. We'll make that available to you. I may be able to come back a little later tonight, but we'll put out a statement if I'm not able to, if it's not convenient for you all. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it. Everybody. I'll keep you informed.